Hey, all you entrepreneurs out there, this is Service Business from Home. I'm Matt, and I own a small landscape company in Cincinnati, Ohio that I run out of my garage. Today's video is about the entrepreneurial mindset, and I've found in my business that mindset and motivation and self confidence is probably the biggest thing that you can factor into a successful business, especially a solopreneur situation. Guys like us, women like us, uh, that are solopreneurs that are running their own business, maybe have one or two employees, running one crew, one truck, that sort of thing. So much of it comes down to us as the owners, not only out in the field doing the work, but all the other stuff, I mean, is definitely down to us. And it's tough sometimes to hold on when you have those emotional roller coaster days, when you have stretch of bad days. When the truck breaks down, it seems like there's always two more things or three more things. That's when you get the phone call from the big client saying we've gone in another direction. I mean, it's like it rains, it pours, and the only way to be able to handle that is to have the right mindset. I This business is tough. Um, but if you learn how to handle it, and if you can stay level and take your ego out of it at times, I think there's times for ego. There's times when ego will help you. There's times when ego will hurt you. So we're going to talk about that stuff. We're going to talk about self-esteem. We're going to talk about self-confidence. We're going to talk about ego. We're going to talk about work ethic. We're going to talk about determination. We're going to talk about anger. And we're going to talk about when it's time to be mean. And I don't mean mean for the sake of being mean. I mean when you're on the 1 yard line and you got a line of guys trying to keep you from getting in that end zone, when it's time to grit your teeth and bear down and get freaking mean. That's what I mean by being mean. I don't mean, belittling people and stuff like that. I really don't think there is any time for that. And we'll get into that in separate videos. When is it time to fire somebody? When is it time to, really dress somebody down? When is it time to be nice and easygoing? And when is it time, all those stuff. We'll get into that with some more in-depth employee videos. But on that point, I had a successful business owner tell me once, Matt, this when you know it's not going to work with somebody, you got to fire them right away. If you stick around thinking you're going to train somebody up when you just know they don't have it in them, then you're going to end up regretting it. And he told me a story where he was going to fire this guy, and he waited till the end of the week, and the dude chopped his hand off with a saw that he knew he wasn't supposed to be working, using that piece of equipment. And it ended up in a huge deal with the workers' compensation and stuff. And the guy had drugs in his system too. And because he didn't have a written out drug policy, they didn't take that into account. So, it's a little off track. I'm going to get back on track. But, I did want to say, in this self-esteem, self-confidence, and working through your emotions, there are some guys that have been really inspiring to me and motivational to me. And so I wanted to kind of go down the list of other YouTubers that I watch and that I especially have been motivated by and inspired by. And number one on that list is Keith Kalfas. I don't want to talk too much about Keith and how much he has inspired me, because I'll get teared up. And you go watch his videos if you're trying to start your own landscape company, or I don't care if you're a landscaper, handyman, you know service business, or if you're trying to start your own Amazon store, all this stuff applies to you guys. You don't have to be a landscape business. You're going to run into all the same issues that we run into as landscapers. You're going to run into those issues too. And, Kelfus is one of those guys here on YouTube that has absolutely, in my opinion, cornered the market on really showing the true struggles of a small businessman. And, you know, so many times on YouTube you watch guys on here and it's just a highlight reel and everybody's killing it in this business or that business, and you know and they're not, man. I mean, they might be making money, they probably are. I'm not calling people liars, but it's not all roses out here in these streets, as they say. I mean, it's tough out here, but it's not always tough. You've got days where it just seems like a dream come true, and that's why we work hard, is to get to those days. And sometimes you have a stretch of days like that. Sometimes you have a month where you set a new record, with the most money you've ever made in your life. There's days where you make more in a day than you used to make in a month at your old job, and you know that those are the reasons why we work, 2,000 plus hours in 9 months. So let's talk about self-esteem. Let's talk about self-confidence. Again, Keith Kelfus does a great job with this. He's got a few videos about knowing your worth, and I don't mean to copy him, but it's just so true that I feel I need to piggyback off him a little bit in this aspect, that knowing your worth, it comes down to, when we first get in business, we're always, not always, but most of the time, we're not charging enough. And to be honest with you, in most cases, I think it's justified, because if you're a first year guy, even when I was a first year guy, I had spent decades cutting grass and things like that. But after I went to law school, that's a whole nother story. But I graduated law school in 2007 for reasons we won't go into. I ended up not going into the legal profession, and I ended up back in landscaping. I had my own business at that time. It was called Action Lawn and Landscape. I was mostly cutting grass and, trimming bushes and stuff. But what I found out later is, with the landscape aspect of it, I wasn't nearly at the level I should have been. So when I came back into the landscape business in 2014, I got a job with a high-end design build, award-winning, landscape architect on staff, millions of dollars in revenue, had their own nursery, their own tree farm, just the entire wall of the office covered in one award after another, working for the highest profile clients in the entire city. I worked for a company like that, and that's where I learned this business and got my certifications and everything like that. But even after spending 2 years there, a year at another really high-end company, and then 2 more years at a different company, because I was moving up in salary. But in this business, a lot of times you got to change companies. Even after that 5 years, getting every certification and license that you can get in this industry, I went out and I wasn't charging quite enough. And, a lot of that, even though I don't think you're justified in charging what one of those companies charges right out of the gate, I also think you can't sell yourself short. And a lot of that comes down to self-esteem and self-confidence. Um, and building that for me was a huge process. I was looking at other guys' companies and, thinking everybody's more successful than me and all this stuff. And what I found out was, I was really actually doing a really good job. I started getting clients from those companies because word was getting around that I was doing high quality work. I was charging a fair price, and it wasn't all about price. It was about the quality of the service that I was providing. And as those clients started to come and my phone started to ring, my self confidence did go up. That first year that I made six figures, it was the first time in my life. It's been 3, 4 years ago now, when, I actually made a six-figure income and thought, wow, I did it. Like, I can say, like, I'm making a real living doing this. And that really changed my self confidence when it comes to business. And the more success and the more growth that I experienced over the next 3 years, the better I felt about being able to walk onto the property of somebody who I know is the CEO of like a major corporation and just speak with them, matter of factly, and just put it out there and not be nervous. And because they're either going to take it or they're not, and so many avenues we can go down and some of this stuff like sales and all that stuff. But this is about mindset. So self-confidence and self-esteem builds. And the biggest thing in my estimation that goes into that is work ethic and determination. If you don't give up and you stay at it, you are going to be successful in a service business. And here's the reason why. Because the people you're going against don't care as much as you do. And the guys that do, there's enough business for all of us. If there's 10 guys out here in Cincinnati, or 20 or 30 that are really going after it the way I am, there's enough clients for everybody. So you look around, you see all this competition, but not everybody's doing it the same way that I am. Not everybody's taking the pride in it. Like, I have seen the work of companies that I've been looking at going, wow, these guys are so successful. These guys are so amazing. I wish I could be more like so and so and so and so. And then I get called over to do a consultation, and I say, oh, yeah, are you working with somebody now? Who did this work? Who did that work? And they tell me the name, and I look at it, and they install something without even doing some really basic, like where it's just obvious to a professional that corners have been cut. And I go, wow, I'm doing higher quality work than this company that I thought, was had me beat hands down. And that's when self-confidence starts to build. Like, hey, I really am doing a good job here. And you'll always have times where things happen. In 4 years, I've only had one or two real incidents where things went bad, and one of them, it was my fault, and I admitted that it was my fault, and I've tried to make that right. And that's all you can do. And then other times there's just people that you can't deal with, that are just impossible to deal with. And, that's part of it too. That goes into the determination and the self-esteem. I mean, this stuff all wraps together. Because when you have a bad day, it's tough to stay motivated when you just get belittled by some attorney, or some rich doctor that thinks you're just some, thinks you're the lawn boy, you know? And it can take a lot of self-discipline to control your temper in moments like that. And, I've lost my tongue a couple times with people, and I always regret it, man. I always regret it. But I have at the time, I'm always like, well, what I want to say is about 10 times worse than what I'm actually going to say, so it's okay. But then once you cool down and you look back, so self-discipline is another thing that comes into effect. And self-esteem and self-confidence again. If that rich doctor talks to you and says, oh, an idiot could have done this, so I don't know what you're thinking, this was a no-brainer, and you've got the self-esteem and self-confidence, that stuff's going to roll right off of you, man, because you know that this guy is in the wrong, and you just did your job the way you were supposed to, and that it's his problem, you know? But that does take self-confidence. I mean, when I was new, if a rich doctor would have said something like that to me, I would have been on my knees begging him to forgive, like, give me a chance to make it right. And is that the wrong way or the right way? Maybe that is the right way. I think the service industry has changed a lot in the last 10 years and maybe even 20 years. This idea that the customer's always right, that's out the window. Look at the airline industry, look at the restaurant industry, look at the way cell phone companies operate. Customer service is not what it was in the 1980s, 1990s, and I mean, it's been outsourced in a lot of cases, but you know, so I know this is all kind of spiraling, but it all fits together, and I'm not trying to take you down a bunch of tangents, but I'm just trying to give you my real life examples of how self-esteem, self-confidence really is core to being able to make it in a service business from home. Excuse me. Work ethic and determination, I mean, those things kind of go without saying, but it's being able to motivate yourself to stay consistent. The consistency is such a big deal with that. And if you're not consistent with it, you're just missing opportunities right and left. I do take one vacation at the end of July, beginning of August, which is my slowest period during the actual season. But Memorial Day weekend, all those things, I'm working. I take one day off, but I take a week off in the summer, and that's it. I have a lot of people that I know that are, in very professional jobs and work for big corporations and make good money and stuff. And I see, and people that are way wealthier than I am. I mean, I'm not wealthy. 3 years I've been making what's considered a decent income, and I've basically saved all of that money. I haven't spent any of it. But I see vacations being taken right and left and stuff like that. And, I want to do that too. I don't want to work this hard. I mean, who wants to work this hard? But the fact is I got to, because I'm not done yet. And that goes into goal setting as well. You got to set goals. I set a 5-year goal when I started this business. I looked at my wife and I said, I think in 5 years I could build this. And I went through and I calculated daily revenue and by the number of days and all this stuff. And like if I was running one solid 3-man crew, I said, I think I could do 360,000 a season in revenue. And depending on, materials costs and stuff, I think I could do, a 50% margin on that. And I'm going into year 5, starting up, this is year 5, but it's January. And I'm on track to achieve that. I don't know if I will, but I'm right there at where I need to be to make it happen. So, that was a dream for me 4 years ago. That was an absolute dream. That was me saying, honey, like, if the moon aligned and all the stars aligned, this could happen. It is a possibility, but I got to do everything right. And I haven't done everything right, but the only thing I've done perfectly is I've put everything that I got in here into it, you know, and I haven't slacked off. I have not slacked off a bit. You know, some would say possible workaholic, but that's another discussion. I think my work-life balance is great. The only problem is it's more like a work-family balance. I don't have a social life anymore, or very little of one. I've got a couple good friends that come over and watch the Super Bowl, New Year's Eve, that sort of thing. But all my free time is spent with family. So, and on Sundays we go to church. But hey, I've got two young kids. That's just part of it. But that all goes into the mindset. That's all. This is where it starts, and this is where it starts. And it helps if you love your job. It helps if you pick something that you really enjoy. And I don't particularly love putting plants in the ground or blowing leaves. But I do love being outside, and I do love when I have a week where I'm like, hey, I made X number of dollars this week, and that's twice what I used to make in a month. Yeah, I love that. That's great. It's not all about the money though, but if we're going to work this hard, we might as well, right? Couple other channels that I really wanted to give some credit to, other than Keith Kalfas. He's number one to me. There's a guy named Aaron who has Lean and Mean Academy. He's a power washer. And that guy, One Truck Big Profits, he has the mindset of it's not about doing gross revenue, it's about keeping yourself lean and mean and efficient. One guy, two guys, a single crew, and maximizing that with the highest end work, the highest paying work, and the lowest overhead, and being efficient. And I really, that's the model that I go by. So when I found him, I was like, yeah, this is my guy. So there's Kalfas, there's Lean and Mean Academy. Another guy I love to listen to, name is Jason Creole. He's down in either Alabama or Louisiana. It's called Lawn Care Life. If you are a solopreneur and you are trying to get a service-based business, you have to watch this guy. Mindset with this guy, he's fantastic with it because he is so level-headed. He's so calm. Where Keith is very emotional, but at the same time inspirational and really, really gives of himself. Jason Creole is kind of the other side of the spectrum where I don't think you could rattle this guy ever. I mean, I see him make videos about getting fired by clients and stuff, and you don't see his expression change. He'll be like, "Yeah, it bothered me," but you don't see that like actual anger. So he's a great one. Brian's Lawn Maintenance, I really like. He's up in Michigan, mows a lot of lawns. He talks about route density. He talks about just a lot of the great entrepreneurial stuff. And so he's a great one to follow. And then the one that really inspired me to start this YouTube channel, which we'll see where it goes, was the Handyman Business channel. And so if and a lot of his philosophies were really aligned with my philosophies. Word of mouth, getting some experience in the industry from high end, really like well known companies before going out on your own, starting picking up side work and over a 5 year period, kind of working your way into it. And that's exactly what I did. And, you know, he's just killing it on YouTube. And that is a guy who I follow as well. One last thing to talk about. We talked about work ethic, we talk about determination. I spoke about anger and getting mean a little bit, but one of the big things that I think is can be a huge asset and can be detrimental to you in your business is ego. Now, in what ways can ego be an asset? Well, you're going to get beat up, man. You're going to have some L's. You're going to take some L's. You're going to take some L's. And having an ego saying, damn it, I'm Matt Hallinan and I'm not going to, I don't lose. I'm not failing at this. It's fairly ego driven. And sometimes that's what you got to do, man. That's what you got to do to keep yourself in the game and to keep yourself working hard and motivated is say, do these people know who the F I am? And I mean, I'm being a little bit sarcastic saying it, but this internal talk that we have to have with ourselves, this internal voice is, so important. But the other side of that is we cannot let our ego drive our decisions when it comes to, for example, you just made 6 figures for the first time in your life. You might have brought in $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 in revenue. You used to be whatever guy at the factory or whatever making $30,000, $40,000 a year. Now you just made 150 grand and you are feeling yourself. And not only that, but in your mind you're gonna even do more the next year. And so you're ready to go out, rent a shop for $2,700 a month, buy a couple because now you're approved for $200,000 in loans from Ford. You go out, you buy 3 dump trucks, you put $5,000 worth of wraps on them, this, that, the other. Go out, buy a Bobcat, and I see this time and time again. And the next year, you lose money. I know a guy that, I won't mention any names, but he was showing me some pictures. This is a guy that's a 7-figure business. And he stopped me and was like, oh, hey, Matt, how are things going? Blah, blah, blah. He whips out his phone. He starts showing me pictures. And granted, 2-3 years before, he was doing what I'm doing. He was picking up maintenance jobs, just really grinding it out. And he grew fast. Well, he was showing me these pictures, and it was just of this absolutely gorgeous outdoor living space, flawless patios. I mean, they looked like they were out of a magazine. And I'm like, wow, man, I didn't know you were doing stuff like this. Congratulations, blah, blah, blah. He looked at me and I said, how did you get into this? Because I'd like to break into this stuff, but I'm too scared, of the risk and blah, blah, blah. He goes, I just did it. I had one. Instead of saying no, this time I said yes. And I'm like, and how did you learn all this stuff? He said, I learned it as I went. I mean, we all know pretty much how to do these things, but until you start really doing them, you don't know. And I said, so how did it go? He said, I lost $30,000 on that project. Raise your hand if you can take a $30,000 loss right now. So, he's since recovered and is doing great and, is making, I'm sure, all kinds of money. But that, I don't think he knew how much of an effect that had on me. Because bro, I'm not in for that. You know, that's too much risk. It's just too much risk for me. So my ego tells me I want to be just like those guys and do these $100,000 projects and, you know, have people talking about, you know, what beautiful, you know, outdoor living spaces I build and stuff. But if I have exceeded every goal that I've set for myself in the first 4 years, why can't I, you know, put my ego in check and avoid those risks, avoid going $200,000-300,000 in debt so I can, you know, say I've got the big shop. I work out of my garage. You know, I have a 23-year-old F350. That is my main work truck. Now I finally got it wrapped this year, and last year I finally bought a dump trailer, a 5x10 SureTrack. Cost me $8,000, and it's a great little trailer. I was on a job site and I had a day laborer there one day, and he showed up, he walked up, he looked at my trailer. He goes, "That's the smallest trailer I ever seen in my life." And it hurt my ego. I didn't like it. So I said, "Hey man, that thing cost me $8,000. I don't appreciate you dumping on it like that." Here, this is my son Cooper. This is one of my motivations right here. He keeps me going. He keeps me wanting to do better. And I love him big time. Say hi.
Hi.
Okay, buddy. I'll be up in a minute. I'm almost finished. So,
Bye, Daddy.
bye, buddy. Say bye, YouTube.
Bye, YouTube.
All right. That's a great place to end the video. I think you guys get the point. And, you know, if you made it this long in this video, you didn't give up. So you're going to be good. You're going to be there. And anything you want to comment on in the comments, put it down there. I've loved some interaction. Please keep it respectful. If you disagree with what I said, that's fantastic. Let's have a respectful disagreement. No name calling, all that kind of stuff. All right, guys. And I just want to thank you, and I will see you soon. I got tons of video ideas. If you want to see my opinion on anything, put it in the comments. I'll make any kind of video you want. Right now, as you can see, I'm in my basement with a comforter hung up in the rafters. It's the best I can do for right now. And as this channel goes forward and grows, you know, I'm going to grow with it, just like that home-based service business that we talked about. So it's this home-based service business, and I'm Matt, and I'm out.